The second last division has us going out west, and it caps off the AFC, as it is the AFC West we'll be discussing. Before diving right into it, I want to quickly say if you're new, subscribe, greatly appreciated. Leave a like and comment down below your thoughts on the AFC West, and now let's jump right into it. We begin with the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're trying to play catch up for the rest of the division. They bring in Pete Carroll as a new head coach, and Geno Smith was traded for, and that was the start of this process that they had. And then in terms of recent news, they had that hiccup with Christian Wilkins and his foot injury and some other locker room stuff, and he has been released from the team. That's a tough loss for that front seven, but again, he didn't play a lot last year anyway, so I'm not sure how much it's really going to impact this team. But they did focus pretty heavy on defense during free agency, bringing in some depth pieces and a few potential impact players. Darnay Holmes, Lonnie Johnson are the kind of depth pieces that they brought in. Meanwhile, Jeremy Chin and Landon Roberts, Eric Stokes, and Jermaine Pratt can all be legit impact players for the team. Jamal Adams is one I'm kind of putting in a separate category from everyone else because I don't know how he's going to play. It's a question mark in terms of what his impact is going to be. He kind of hasn't really found his footing since leaving Seattle. Hell, since leaving New York, you can make the argument for. And it's really hard to gauge what kind of impact he's going to have. And then Philip Dorsett will be the first offensive addition we'll talk about. Going to definitely be an improvement at receiver 2 for this team. The Raiders needed a lot of receiver help, and Philip Dorsett is one of those additions. Raheem Mostert also brought in to be a really solid running back too, and then Alex Cappa will be a part of the puzzle in terms of fixing the offensive line. They had a really solid draft as well to continue the O-line additions with Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant. Another secondary piece that was added is Darian Porter, and they drafted Jack Beck out of TCU to be an instant impact guy at wide receiver, because again, that receiver room is pretty weak. Overall, the main draft pick, though, that everyone is talking about in terms of both fantasy football and casual football stuff, Ashton Jeanty with the 6th overall pick is a Las Vegas Raider. And there was a lot of pressure on Jeanty to hit the ground running with how well he played last year at Boise State. But the Mountain West is a completely different animal than the AFC West and the NFL. So we'll see how much he can actually transition and how smoothly that could be into the NFL. I think he'll play just fine. I just think there might be like a week or two where he needs to find his footing. But overall, he's going to be a damn good player, no doubt about that. I don't really have much expectations for the Raiders this season. They definitely have potential. I just have quite a few question marks to make me kind of reserve in terms of being overly excited for this team. Can Geno Smith continue to play at the great level that he has been during his past few years in Seattle? Can Pete Carroll be a solid coach for this team and kind of get through some of these early hiccups that they have? And those question marks are the only things kind of holding me back with this team. Max Crosby is still great. Brock Bowers in year 2 is going to be so much fun to watch. But overall, definitely am curious about the trajectory of the Raiders. The Denver Broncos by far have had one of my favorite free agencies and off seasons as a whole across the entire NFL as they look to build off of that playoff appearance that they had last year. They bring in Evan Ingram, Trent Sherfield, and J.K. Dobbins as the main 3 additions to the free agency for the offense. And all 3 are going to be instant impact players for them. Trent Sherfield's a really solid depth piece at receiver. I say instant impact because he can be a receiver 2 or receiver 3. Evan Ingram is going to be a great tight end option. And J.K. Dobbins is the only one I'm kind of curious on what his role is going to be. But either way, he's going to be able to play just fine in that role he's being asked of him. Plus, he's also coming off of injury, but I think he'll be just fine in that system. The defense, they saw Dre Greenlaw, Talona Hufanga, and DJ Jones being the main additions there through free agency, and each are going to fit in pretty damn well in their respective roles for this team. And this was a Broncos defense that surprised me last season and playing really well throughout the majority of the season, and I'm definitely expecting them to take a step forward this year. I also really like their draft, beginning with Garrett Robinson, Savion Jones, Jahdae Barron being the defensive draft picks that they had. I really like Barron and Jones and what they can be and what they can bring in an instant impact role, while Robinson's more so a depth piece, I feel. Pat Bryant's a nice receiver ad for a team that definitely could improve at receiver, and Courtland Sutton just signed a massive extension. Pat Bryant's going to come in and be a really solid receiver too for this team. And then they drafted RJ Harvey in the 2nd round. If you have watched some of my offseason content and pre-draft content, you will know that I'm a massive RJ Harvey guy and I'm a massive fan of him. Yes, there's some UCF bias there, but I am massively high on RJ Harvey. I think his play is going to translate perfectly into the Sean Payton system, and he's going to play just fine in the league level, even as a rotational back. That was kind of what his role was at UCF because he had so many different quality running backs. But even if he is the main head monster of a running back room, he's going to play incredibly well for Sean Payton and this team. Going to be a instant impact player, and he's going to make people know his name for sure. The Broncos are going to be able to compete in this division, no doubt in my mind about that, and they're going to be a better team than they were last year, one way or another. As long as Bo Nix takes the steps he needs to, or hell, he can kind of play similar to how he played last year and get away with it with this caliber of team that they have. But there is a playoff win on the horizon for the Denver Broncos. Whether it comes this year or next year, I don't think it really matters. This is the team that's going to be a competitive team for years to come. I don't know how to feel surrounding the Chargers this season, as they feel like they should be a better team. Last year was kind of a disappointing year. The past few years have been relatively disappointing for them. Haven't quite won that playoff game that they've been searching for under Justin Herbert's tenure so far. They do continue to bolster the offensive line and the trenches as a whole on this team, and I really like that. Deshaun Hand is brought in, Naquan Jones is brought in, Mekhi Becton is a great signing there, and Andre Jones as well is a pretty solid signing to improve the trenches. Tyler Conklin's a fine tight end addition to have when that isn't really the focal point of this offense, even though I feel like it definitely should be compared to what the receiver room has in store. Dante Jackson and Benjamin St. Juste are some really solid corner options to have, especially since Asante Samuel Jr. is not coming back. What was their massive offensive add in Najee Harris is in a purgatory state right now after a fireworks incident. And they did sign Nyheim Hines to kind of be that semi-replacement at this time being. Though they do also have Omarion Hampton, which was a really nice draft pick by them in the first round, and was a really nice draft overall, I will also say in that matter. Omarion Hampton will probably be the running back one this year for the Chargers, and I don't think you really are upset about that. Trey Harris, Jamari Caldwell, and Kyle Kennard are going to be very solid adds that they had through the draft as well. Probably going to be instant impact players, especially Trey Harris at that receiver room, because boy, that receiver room is looking very light, even with Trey Harris being added to it. Did the Chargers get drastically better from last year? No. Are they going to be a bad team this year? Also, no. They're going to be able to compete. That is the bottom line of this team. Harbaugh is going to have them ready to compete, and they very well might make the playoffs this year. But it feels like they need more, and they need to definitely show more before I can truly take them seriously as a contender. And I'm saying this in the same video where I said I'm really high on the Broncos. But at least they have a relatively younger team than the Chargers, it feels. The Chargers all around, they need to figure it out sooner rather than later. While the Broncos, it feels like they have another year or two in order to figure it out before you start to hit the panic button. 3 straight Super Bowl appearances, and the Chiefs are going to be playing angry this season after how they performed in the Super Bowl last year. The biggest issue they had during that big game was the trenches, and they addressed it accordingly. Jalen Moore, a massive sign-in free agency to improve that offensive line, and they also bring in Jerry Tillery to be some D-line depth as well. Christian Fulton, Elijah Mitchell, and Gardner Minshew are some more depth pieces there at corner, running back, and QB respectively. And the draft was much of the same, with the first 3 picks being spent towards the trenches. Josh Simons for the offensive line out of Ohio State. He has been playing well so far in the early stages of training camp, and he's going to be just a fine addition to this Kansas City offense. He's going to be playing really well for them. Omar Norman Lott and Ashton Gillette for the defensive line. Also, guys are going to make some impact, but most likely be on the more depth side of things. Noah Williams and Jalen Royals are also depth pieces at corner and receiver, respectively. And listen, the Chiefs are going to be a threat as long as Mahomes is behind center and Andy Reid is calling plays. Just because it didn't add a lot on the skill position side doesn't mean they aren't going to be a better team. We saw this after 2020 when they lost to Tampa in the Super Bowl. They focused heavy on improving the trenches, and they have won 2 of the last 4 since then. That line was a mess in the back half of the season, and they instantly addressed it when they needed to and when they could. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt entering this upcoming season, Even though the offseason might have been underwhelming for some people, to me, I feel like they addressed the issues they had, and they know the type of team they have and the weapons that they have on this team. They have faith in their guys, they have faith in Mahomes. They're going to be just fine no matter what. So with all that being said, let's go over how I think the division lookout is going to be. And we begin with the Las Vegas Raiders finishing last. I just don't have enough confidence in them to say that they're going to be that much better than last year and they're going to be ready for a playoff spot or ready for a really, really good season. I think Pete Carroll's going to have them playing better. They're going to be less sloppy as a team. I just think they have a few more years to go before we truly see what kind of team this is under Pete Carroll. And we'll see if they even have that much time to figure that out. Next up is the Los Angeles Chargers. I have them finishing third. And for the very simple reason is I don't feel like they got that much better. Whereas, both the Broncos and the Chiefs, I think they're going to be better teams than they were last year on paper. The Chargers are one of those teams where the receiver room scares me, with Vlad McConkey being the main guy. They were a pretty run-heavy team last year, but Najee Harris has been kind of MIA since the fireworks incident, and I don't know what Amari and Hampton can do at this next level. And just all around, they're a weird team as a whole. They've always been a weird team. It's the Chargers we're talking about. Again, they very easily could be a playoff team. Do I necessarily think they're going to be an exceptional team? No. The Denver Broncos, I have finished in second in this division, and they're going to be able to compete for it. I don't think they'll win it. I was very, very tempted to put them at first, but I decided against that. Go with my better judgment. I think they're going to finish second in this division. They're going to be probably winning a playoff game this year, and they're going to be playing really, really solid football. Sean Payton has got his guys properly into this team. He has fully installed his system by now. I think we're going to see a massive jump from Bo Nix, and thus we're going to see a massive jump from this team. And finally, until further notice, this is the Kansas City Chiefs division to lose. Part of me was so tempted to put them finishing second, but I just can't. It is the Chiefs we're talking about. As long as Mahomes is under center, they're going to have a stronghold over this division until proven otherwise. I need to put them first, even though I want to put them lower. The better judgment and the logical side of me has them finishing first. So that's where I'm putting them here for this video. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.